Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Quality, the podcast. My name is Hemish Ilangaratne, and since 2023, I've been interviewing some of the most talented and well-respected quality leaders in the pharma and biotech industry to learn how they got to where they are now. This season is all about our guests and their journeys. Why they got into science, how they got into quality, their biggest challenges and greatest learns, and the highs and lows along the way. Every week, I'll be bringing you a new guest with the purpose of inspiring the next generation of quality leaders. Welcome to Season 2. I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Quality, the podcast. Today, I'm joined by Hanh Nguyen. Hanh is the site head of quality for Minaris Regenerative Medicine. They're a CDMO specializing in the cell and gene therapy space from early phase to commercial. We speak about managing a diverse workforce, the importance of mental health in the workforce, and driving and improving culture. We also touch on the relationships and creating strong relationships between CDMO and sponsors and how to get that right. So really excited to have her on the show. Let's get into it. Hi, Hanh. Good morning. Welcome to Let's Talk Quality.
Hi, Hamish. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Hanh, I've given the listeners a very brief overview of your background, but if you could give the listeners an introduction, that would be great.
Yeah. So, hi. My name is Hanh Nguyen. I go by Han. I am currently the site head of quality for Minaris Regenerative Medicine. We're a cell and gene therapy CDMO, working with clients across the globe. We have presence in the United States, Japan, Germany, dedicated to cell and gene therapy, contract and development manufacturing for early phase and all the way to commercial phase.
Excellent. So we'll get into all of that. Let's take it back to the start. I'm really interested to talk about your journey up until sort of where you are now. But how did you initially get into science, and how did you transition into quality?
Yeah, I grew up in a very traditional Vietnamese household. It's really one where, I'm trained to learn to go to school, study hard, go to college, and that's the path that we're kind of driven to take. And my parents are they're very supportive in any career path in any major that I wanted to do, but science and maths just came naturally and easily, and I took the science path. I didn't see myself as a mathematician, so I did take the science path and did my degree in biomedical engineering. When it comes to quality, though, that was not planned. It was in college. I don't think that the educational institutions talk enough about what quality is, and that there's even a career track in quality, which I really do think that the industry and the educational institutions could partner together and maybe potentially improve in this aspect.
Yeah, I agree. It's whenever you talk to a quality person, they nobody decided to go into quality when they're in college. It's a career that you often fall into. How did you actually transition into it? What was
it's the first job I found out of college, and I took it. And actually, 19 years later, I'm still here. So I think it's really meant to be.
And was that with Amgen?
It is with Amgen, yes. I started off in Amgen as a temporary employee in document control. I did, receiving documents from other departments, managing the archives. But that temporary assignment transitioned to something permanent when I had opportunity to work in quality control at Amgen. Managing samples, managing the stability program, working on the QC LIM side of things. And over time in my career at Amgen, which actually became Boehringer Ingelheim, BI, I've had an opportunity to take on a role in QA validation, right? Working on all things validation, equipment, methods, process, aseptic process simulations, and such, and really built a really strong foundation in quality and QA validation and QC.
Yeah. It's, I mean, to start to have that grounding in Big Pharma Amgen,
Hmm.
Boehringer. You
Yeah.
spent what 11, 12 years, something like that.
11 years, and
Yeah.
it's the process validation experience that allowed me to realize I really enjoyed being in the operations, near the operations side of things, and that's when I decided to take a move to a QA manager role for QA operations at a smaller
So,
pharmaceutical company. Yeah.
okay. So and that was so that's a big change going from
Yes.
11 years in big in big corporate structures where everything's fairly well structured, well documented, good processes, going into the startup world. Why did you decide to make that move?
You know, 11 years at a big biotech company really gave me the strong foundation, right? And even relationships, friendships that last a lifetime. Found you met a lot of great colleagues. It was very comfortable there.
Yeah.
It's a comfort zone. And when I decided to make a move, it was really an opportunity to be able to do QA operations, being closer to working with contract manufacturers for various types of pharmaceutical products, and it was an opportunity for me to get out of my comfort zone,
Mm.
which was really the best career move I made, because it was scary, coming from a comfortable place for 11 years to that is, a big company to something that's a smaller organization. I didn't know what to expect in terms of how smaller companies function, what that work culture would be like, what is that quality culture going to be
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
um, how do people view quality in a smaller organization like that when you have less resources
Mm.
to be able to do everything?
Mm.
So it was definitely scary at first, but for anyone who is thinking about transitioning from large to small companies, I highly encourage it, because a move like that actually allowed me to learn and grow exponentially. And so over the years, and just taken on, and since then I've just taken on increasing roles in responsibilities within the quality realm. So it's been very exciting, and it's just been
Mm.
really grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly played a huge impact in your development and career progression, and part of the reason why I thought this would be a really interesting conversation. I suppose you've been in quality for a long time, 19, 20 years or so,
Hmm.
but you're still, in the grand scheme of things, relatively early in your leadership career, or relatively young in the grand scheme of things. And I'm sure you probably have people maybe commenting on the fact that you're young in your journey compared to maybe other quality heads in the broader industry. Is that something that you've faced? Has that been a challenge?
Um, not that anyone has actually, said it out right. Certainly, and I think a lot of others in a similar boat would say that we always wonder, if
Mm.
I would say an imposter syndrome almost,
Yeah.
sometimes, because there are a lot of people, a lot of leaders out there with lots of great experience. And so it's important to be humble and to recognize that there's still always so much to learn.
Yeah.
But with the experience that I have, I'm also been able to guide my team members and be able to provide them with the support that they need. And I think as a leader, that's very an important aspect to the job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you're at your site head of quality now. You've progressed quickly from sort of associate director up through to director, and spent time in cell therapy, gene therapy, in the sponsor side. You're now at Minaris as CDMO in the CGT space, overseeing hundreds of people across. Is it two sites that you have responsibility for?
Two
Um,
sites, that's
Two
correct.
sites, yeah. An incredible amount of responsibility there. Um, what challenges have you seen, especially in your leadership career? From a people perspective,
Mhm.
as you've progressed very quickly into that site head of quality role, or relatively quickly. That's a big steep learning curve. Some people have years, as you say, at sort of
Mhm.
10, 15 years at director level or vice president level, where you can learn on the job, but you've almost gone very quickly into it. So I'm sure there have been challenges that you've faced over the last few years in the leadership. What have been the main ones that you've come across?
And I think from a people management challenge, I think we work with a different set of, I want to say, professionals in this new generation. The drive, what drives people, what drives this new generation is different than what I've seen when I started my career, and I think that the motivations are different. It's not always about the the monetary that really drives people. It's about the passion and the learning and the development in that aspect, and being able to recognize what it is that our staff members really need and how to be able to provide that. And so, that challenge is. I don't know this part. I need to cut this part out. Sorry. Can we start
Yeah,
that? That's
yeah, of
okay.
course, yeah,
Um, I think that it's a different generation that we work with in the new workforce that's coming into the industry, and what's driving the staff. There are what used to be, people would be in the position for 4 or 5 years, without a promotion, and they'd be
yeah,
happy, and it's not the case anymore.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think people are looking for that career progression in a much faster track, and being able to recognize what it is that drive them, what motivates them, in order to be able to satisfy the team members, keep them engaged in what they do. And that's a constant conversation that I have with my management team, and I'm able to make sure that our staff members are happy in
Mm.
what they do.
Do you find
But
that? Sorry, go on.
but I do see that there's a lot of passion. There's
Mm.
a lot of passion in the staff members that I work with, and that's something that I think you don't train people on.
Yeah,
They have to have that in them, and the rest of it is really an opportunity for us to work on to train and develop, and them to be able to have them really perform at their full potential.
yeah. Do you find that it's a challenge managing your leadership team in terms of finding the balance of um, motivating your more junior staff? If you're hiring, like you say, a different generation of people that have different motivations, different drivers, is that a challenge from sort of how to communicate that and managing your managers, I suppose, in terms of what the expectations are from below?
I think I have a really fantastic team, and
Yeah.
they recognize that as well, and they adapt, right? They talk to their team members, they
Mm.
adapt, and they work with them so that they can see, what it is that their team members need and how to
Yeah.
best support them in their
Yeah.
career.
Yeah. So from that younger generation, then have you got when you I suppose look at the demographic of the people that you have in the business, and what are the what for people going into leadership careers and they are managing the newer generations, what advice would you give to those people around how to get the best out of your people?
You need to have those conversations. I think building development into those one-on-ones are really important, because um, the communication is so key. It is so key to being able to help your team members um, understand, help yourself understand what your team members need in order to be able um, to be their leader and to be able to help them grow.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned imposter syndrome earlier. Um,
Hmm.
is that something that you've, and I'm sure lots of people will struggle with this, but not necessarily feel comfortable or confident talking about it?
Hmm.
Is that something that you've had to face, or is it something that you've had to help other people with?
Absolutely. I think we are our own worst critics.
Mm.
I think we sometimes undervalue ourselves and our capabilities. I sometimes think, well, am I good enough for this? Am I good enough for that? And I
Mm.
think it's important to know that you know you come with your best, right? You come with your best
Right.
capabilities based on your experience. Any decisions that I make is based on my experience, is based on the experience of others around me whom I talk to gather feedback. And so I think that people should have more confidence in themselves, and that goes into anything that they do in life, career, personally and professionally.
Mm. And it kind of it leans into that topic around mental health as well in the workplace. And I
Hmm.
was speaking to someone recently about their role, and managing a quality function is tough. You're working long hours, you are being pulled from pillar to post, you have deadlines to work, and that's the same in a lot of careers, but it can be especially tough in quality. Um, is that how does as a leader, I suppose, how do you manage the mental health of yourself and but also the people in your remit and in your team? Is that something that's top of mind for you, I guess?
Absolutely. That is one of the top things on my mind. And like you said, it's not something we talk about enough. I think, I found myself when I was taking on roles of increasing responsibilities that it meant more time at work and less time for other things in life, and learning to adapt and being able to balance that. Because I think, it's important to have pockets, dedicated pockets of time for family, personal life, without touching the work phone, without touching the laptop, and also pockets of time for yourself, for self care as well. I think it's really important that when you're physically and mentally healthy, you bring your best self to work. Right. And I
Mm,
want to bring my best self to work to do my best for myself, but also for my team members.
mm,
And I want for them to also to be mentally healthy and bring their best selves to work. So it's also important, I think, for leaders and managers to check in on the team members, to see how is their workload, is there anything that we can do to support them? And the questions have to be framed in a way where it's not how are things, because that's not going to get necessarily the kind of information that you need, but you need to dig deep into a little more. How is your workload?
mm.
Are you getting are you feeling engaged? Are you getting the level of engagement you need? Are there what challenges are you having on a day to day, and how can I support you? Is there anything that I can help take off your plate so that you can focus on other things, for example?
Yeah. And what sort of regularity or cadence would you be having those types of conversations with your people? Are we talking on a weekly basis, monthly basis, quarterly? Is it more ad hoc?
Hmm. It's really up to each manager and their staff member, in terms of what that relationship is and how comfortable you feel and bring things up and frequency. I don't have a set frequency or duration that I can recommend. Personally, for me, I have weekly one-on-ones with my team members.
Mm,
Um, every conversation has some sort of development discussion in it, and also a check-in on how are things going. It's frequent.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I agree. I think it's something that sometimes gets overlooked in the workplace, especially when there's when everyone has their own objectives and pressure and things and yeah, checking in on your people
Mhm.
is something that needs to be done um, regularly, and it's gonna get the best out of you. As you say, you know that your people are in good shape and they're performing. They've got their mental health and their physical health, and everything is in good order, which drives performance in your and culture, I suppose.
And
Um,
drives a high performing team. And exactly as you
yeah,
said, work culture is so important. We want people to come to a work environment where they can feel that they're happy, they're thriving, they're comfortable, speaking up, providing their thoughts and feedback and concerns and suggestions.
I wanted to talk a bit about culture, just because when I remember when we first spoke, you come across really passionately about creating
Hmm.
a positive culture and your people. Um, the term quality culture gets thrown around a lot, I think, but without sort of real specifics of what exactly it means.
Hmm.
I'm sure there are various metrics that leaders will track to improve the quality performance. But from your perspective, going into a new role, what practical things like could you or have you done or implemented, or I suppose keep top of mind to make sure the culture of your team, your business is moving in the direction of a high performing, engaged culture, and you're getting the best out of your people?
Mhm. I think it's two things. I think work culture and quality culture are two things that really do go hand in hand, but they are two different things. When we talk about work culture, it's establishing a safe environment for team members to be able to feel empowered to take decisions, being comfortable to be able to voice their opinions and concerns, to be able to challenge the status quo and
Mm.
such. And being able to sit back, let our team members have a voice and opinion first before as leader, before we jump in and give our thoughts, right? And quality culture is about quality and that is something that is not just in the quality team. Is this is across the organization. It should be everyone's responsibility, right? To have quality in mind in anything that they do. And when you have a strong work culture and a strong quality culture together, that's where the success is.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to touch on, I suppose, your most recent move. You've gone from the sponsor side into the CDMO world.
Mhm.
I suppose, what are things that have you realised that are most important when you're having to build a strong relationship between the CDMO and the sponsor side? Having worked on both sides of the fence now, what are the most important aspects of building those relationships?
Mhm. Yeah, the nice thing about having worked on both sides is understanding the challenges and the needs
Mm.
of a sponsor and a CDMO. I think some of the key aspects to a successful collaboration between both sides is being transparent with any challenges, any issues that you foresee. Also bringing in, when we're doing tech transfers, for example, that it's being transparent with, all of the historical information that the CDMO would need to be successful.
Yeah,
I also think it's important to also have clear timelines, clear expectations established between a sponsor and a CDMO in order to be able to understand each other's needs and head in the same direction and understand what are the same deliverables. Um, so there are going to say that face-to-face interaction is
mm.
also very important. Having the sponsors being on site, having those conversations, having them see our process, work with our team members,
Yeah,
actually build a very strong relationship that goes long term.
yeah, no, definitely. And is it something that you and we don't need to get into the detail of it, but do you feel like the industry is moving in the right direction between the relationship between sponsors and CDMO? Um, is there still work to be done? And if so, what are those things that I guess people could be doing that work on both sides?
Yeah, I do think it's going in the right direction. I see more conversations around even this topic
Mm.
of how can things what is working, what isn't working, and how do we do better.
Yeah,
And so I see more and more CDMOs popping up, right? Especially in the cell and gene therapy space, where a lot of small companies don't have the capability to do it themselves, that they do outsource to CDMOs, and I think that this requires us to have to be able to work with clients and understand their needs and challenges and so I do think that I've seen lots of great improvements over the years in terms of this space.
good. Um, what when you look back at your career now, I suppose to date, and I'm sure there are plenty of things that you're proud of. what are you most proud of so far? And what are you now looking forward to? What are you most excited about looking ahead?
I think the impact to patient lives is the greatest thing that I'm proud of. When I think about um, children, toddlers, or infants who were born with a life sentence of a genetic disease that is debilitating, that eventually takes their lives at a very young age, and to be able to provide a one-time therapy, right? A one-time therapy that gives them the chance to live an absolutely normal childhood that they otherwise didn't have. Um, I think that's just the most rewarding aspect of my job, and it's something that I look forward to continuing for many more years to come, because I think that cell and gene therapy is really the future of medicine, and it's such a rewarding space to be in.
Excellent. I completely agree. And Hannah, I'm really excited to see you progress in your career and see what you, how the next few years evolve for you. You've, made some incredible progression over the last, however many years. And you're clearly passionate about the right things to people, the well-being of your people and the culture of the business. So I'm looking forward to seeing you progress in your career and how it all goes. We'll have to have you back on the show in the future to talk about all of it.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Han, before we finish, I usually end with some quick fire questions, which I'm gonna go through now. First question is, what are the three most important values that you live and die by?
Family, honesty, and respect for others.
Excellent. Do you believe in leaving a legacy?
I don't see it as a goal of mine, but if it happens, I think that happens naturally.
Yeah. Who's been the biggest inspiration in your life? And that can be either personally or professionally.
My 5-year-old daughter, who I call my little monster. I want to show her that success as a female minority is absolutely possible.
Excellent. Final question. What one piece of advice would you give to future quality leaders?
Find passion in what you do, because I think that allows you to bring your best self to work, and be sincere as a leader, because I think your team deserves nothing less. And I think
Awesome.
that's actually two advice, but
So I'll give you two advice. That's fine. Han, that's been brilliant. Thank you so much for giving us your time. You've done some incredible things, and look forward to seeing what you achieve moving forwards. If people want to get hold of you in terms of asking for advice or anything, is LinkedIn generally the best way?
absolutely. And I look forward to it. And thank you, Hemish, for having me on the show.
Pleasure. Thanks, Han.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's show. I hope that you got value from it, whether you're starting your career in quality or if you're at the top of your field. Today's episode was brought to you by RX Group. I'm the founder of RX Group. We are a pharma and biotech recruitment organization focusing purely on quality assurance. We recruit consultants and senior level permanent quality professionals into the pharma and biotech industry. If we can support you, whether that be in a hiring capacity or if you yourself are looking for work, please get in touch with me on LinkedIn, visit our LinkedIn page where you can subscribe to the podcast, and visit our website, www.rx-group.io, to find out more about us. See you soon.